guys, Jake from Johnny K's Powersports. Today we're going to take a look at our Kawasaki KRX 1000. We're going to be upgrading this KRX from its stock suspension to an upgraded HCR long travel kit. This is HCR Suspension's long travel kit for the KRX 1000. It comes in this candy apple green, which is kind of Kawasaki green, which is really cool. They're upgraded from stock. They're more heavy duty. Plus, they're designed a little bit different to give your car a little bit more travel and suspension. So right now we're going to take a look at the front end of the KRX 1000. This is HCR's heavy-duty boxed A-arm kit. It also comes with some +2 axle bars. This long travel kit from HCR Suspension is going to take your KRX 1000 to the next level. We're going to pull the hood off here so we can get to the shock mounting point so we can remove the shock. Now that we got the car all jacked up, we can get to the mounting points of the shocks, get the wheel off, get the shocks off, and start removing our stock parts. So you can see the stock lower A-arms are a little bit smaller in diameter and shape, and you can definitely see that the HCR is a boxed heavy-duty A-arm that's going to be way stronger than this stock A-arm. From the looks of it here, it doesn't look like we're going to need to take any plastic off or anything. We'll start by removing the hub and rotor and caliper. Then we'll move into the tie rod. Then we'll remove the shock and sway bar links, and then these A-arms will pull right off. So we're at the back of the machine here on the KRX 1000. We're getting ready to install the HCR heavy-duty box trailing arms and radius rods. So we're just going to start with taking the wheel off, work our way into removing the shock, the trailing arm, the radius rods, sway bar link, all these stock components. And basically we're going to replace these rear radius rods with high clearance radius rods. They're built with aluminum. We're going to remove this factory trailing arm and replace it with a heavy-duty boxed high-rise long travel kit trailing arm. The shock will remain the same, and then we're going to do +2 axles in it. All right, so we moved over to the driver's side of the machine. We've got the trailing arm off, the knuckle, the hubs, removed the rear radius rods and axle. We're starting to install the HCR kit. So we started with installing these high clearance billet aluminum radius rods. We're going to work our way into installing the new trailing arm, reinstall the brake line on the trailing arm, and then we'll swing everything back together, connect it, put the new axle in, hub and rotor, and put the wheel on, and you're ready to go. So we got the trailing arm mounted to the frame now. We're going to lift it up and go ahead and put the sway bar link on. That's going to hold it in place for us. So we'll just mount the trailing arm to the sway bar link here. That'll hold it up in place for us when we go ahead and put the radius rods back in and knuckle on. So now we're able to swing this right or left to assemble the rear end. So now we're getting ready to install the radius rods back onto the trailing arm. So now we're going to get the shock installed just to hold the trailing arm in place so we can swing it back and forth. We're going to leave the sway bar link disconnected. That way we can move this in and out once we get our axle in to connect all of our radius rods again. Rear axles in the Kawasaki, they're prone to get stuck into the transmission. We have a lot of problems with trying to get them removed. So when we install them or straight from the factory, we'll remove the axles and put a ton of anti-seize on them. This will keep them from getting galled up and stuck in there. So down the road, when you need to replace an axle, they'll pop right out. So now that our axle's into the transmission, we're gonna swing it into our trailing arm and knuckle. So now that we got the axle in through the knuckle, everything's ready to be put back together. We're gonna connect the radius rods now, and then we can reconnect our sway bar link after that, and then we'll put the hub and rotor on, and this side will be complete. So we're going to put some anti-seize into this hub also. It goes on the splines on this end of the axle. It's just for easy removal and maintenance down the road. So we're going to get the caliper back on and then connect the top radius rod. Then we'll move on to finalizing it by connecting our sway bar link. We're just hooking the caliper back up, getting our bolts started. And then once we get the top radius rod in, we'll go go over and snug all of our bolts. All right, so now that we got this side all together, we're gonna move up to the front to install the axle and knuckle and get the front end all taken care of. But just to recap what we did, we installed the new HCR trailing arm, mounted our shock, radius rods, axle and rotor and hub, and we remounted our brake line to the trailing arm. So once we get the wheels on and everything done, we'll lower this and then we'll adjust all of our radius rods to adjust our alignment. No more sliding. Well, sometimes we run into some unexpected problems, I guess. And I think I really broke it this time. So we're just finishing up the front end here. We removed all of the stock components, reinstalled HCR's heavy duty boxed A arms. It comes with a little adapter for your tie rod here to extend it because this long travel kit adds 2 inches of width to your vehicle. So our next step here is going to be to install the axle. We kind of got everything loose here so we can lift everything up out of the way. We'll install the axle, install the front knuckle, tie everything back together, and then once the car is lowered back onto the ground, we'll adjust for our alignment. Well, we're getting ready to put the front axle in, so we're gonna lift this here A-arm up. I'm gonna get some straps just to hold it up out of the way. Get the axle in, then we'll install the lower ball joint onto the tie rod end and our hub and rotor. All right, so we're getting ready to install the front axle here. This is our Rhino 2.0 plus 2 axle for the long travel kit. You're gonna slide it into the front differential, line up your splines, and just pop it into place. There we go. Then we're gonna lower it right into the lower A-arm. Just like that. Get your tie rod on. Usually once you get the tie rod on, it should hang there, so you don't have to hold it anymore. So we're gonna get our front shock up here onto the tower and just let it hang. That way, when we're ready to connect it all, it'll be right where we need it. We get this top bolt in, which the powder coat makes it a tight fit. So now we're just installing our lower shock mount bolt. And we can move on to the hub and rotor. So we're just gonna hit this with a gun until we get out our torque wrench, and we're gonna actually torque all these bolts to spec. But for now, we're gonna just snug it on there just to hold everything in place. That's it. All right, so we just finished up the front end. We got pretty much everything complete, all the boxed A-arms on, all the trailing arms on, our shocks back on. We're gonna go ahead around and torque all the bolts to spec, give it a once over, make sure we didn't miss anything. Then we're gonna put our wheels on. We'll get it back onto the ground, and then that's where we're gonna do our alignment. We'll adjust our tie rods and our radius rods to get the vehicle square. We might toe the tires in a little bit. That'll help with our bump steer, and we'll go from there. So we finally got our Evo exhaust in from Evolution Powersports. This is gonna give our KRX 1000 maximum airflow. So the stock muffler is pretty simple to remove. You just take off a few bolts from each mounting point here. So there's just 3 brackets, one here, and this one up here you don't have to remove. If you get these 2 off, the muffler will slide right off. Evolution Powersports got a lot of cool stuff. They got cool exhausts, quick, easy tunes. Actually, for our race cars, we're ending up doing some aftermarket intercoolers that they sell. But pretty much anything performance-wise, Evolution Powersports is the company to go to. So these mufflers are pretty easy to install. The Kawasaki just has 3 brackets on it. They have one here, one below the exhaust, and then they have one up here for the factory muffler. But the Evolution Powersports only has 2 mounting points, so you just use these 2 brackets. It's simple install and you're ready to go. Just finally finished up the KRX. We're pulling it out of the shop. Gonna give you a full walk around on what we did to it and show you what we can do here at Johnny K's. All right, guys, we just finished our HCR suspension build on our KRX 1000 here at Johnny K's Powersports in Niles, Ohio. So one of the companies that we teamed up with was HCR Suspension. These guys make a lot of suspension kits that are upgraded from OEM. They're super strong. This kit actually makes the car wider. It's a little taller. It's their long travel kit. So we decided to put it on our KRX. It's a cool candy painted apple green to match the Kawasaki colors. It gives you pretty much a boxed A-arm with heavy duty Keller ball joints. The kit also comes with little adapters here to extend your tie rods. And then you have the option of going with a +1 Rhino axle, or they'll sell you RCV axle bars, which then you gotta take your CV joints off and actually build the axle and put it back in. We figured it was easier and nicer to run with the Super ATV Rhino axles on this one. So in the back here, they have their high rise, high clearance boxed trailing arm. It's also in the candy green. It's pretty cool. It also comes with the rear radius rods from HCR. These are a billet aluminum. They got little contrast cuts in them that says HCR. Makes it a little flashy. They're fully adjustable Heim joints. And last, we threw on the Evolution Powersports slip-on exhaust. A real quick, easy slip-on exhaust. Nothing crazy about it. It comes with a real nice heat shield here with Evolution Powersports logo in the center. So that wraps up our KRX 1000 build with our HCR suspension kit.